here, Real with Omar. Super special guest today, Anthony Williams, financial advisor with Vivid Financial.
Vivid Advisory.
Vivid Advisory, my bad. I'm sorry, I just got it off a second here. Anthony, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. It's been a long time coming.
I know. It's been about a year and a lot of postponements. And it is what it is, but we're here now. We're here now. You got the right shirt on?
Hey, listen, appreciate the shirt, man.
You made it, man. That's it. You made it. You're on the show. You got the shirt on. You made it. So, Vivid Advisory Group.
Vivid Advisory.
Vivid Advisory.
Yeah,
all right.
Vivid Advisory.
So talk to me. You're a financial planner.
Yep.
Right. I'm not trying to simplify it, but I want to give people some backgrounds.
Yeah.
Now, what exactly is it that financial planners do?
Yeah, so I mean, there's many types of planners that are out there. What I come across is two type of planners, right? You got someone that's focused on insurance, right? Where they do primarily life insurance, disability insurance, long-term care, health insurance, and the other type of financial planner we see out there is someone known as, I call them an investment advisor, where they primarily focus on investment planning, not necessarily insurance planning. And so we think about the work that we do, the firm, is we're comprehensive financial planners, meaning that we assist from like budgeting, helping you understand where your net worth is going, help you understand insurance, investments, tax planning, estate planning, and also retirement planning. So making sure we're covering all the areas of financial planning rather than just only one area.
I wanted to say, you touched on something I was thinking on the way up. So net worth. So net worth, for you guys out at home in the audience, is basically your assets minus any liabilities.
Yep.
That number left is your net worth.
Exactly.
Not, I own a $10 million building, I own $9.5 million, I'm a $10 million guy. No, you're not. You're a $500,000 guy. I just want to be clear, and I'm here with a financial advisor who'll back me up on this.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah, because you hear a lot of
people like, yeah, I own $10 million in real estate. And if you're not an advisor, if you're not in the business, you're like, wow, $10 million in real estate. I'm like, well, my first question, how much debt do you have on that property? What is your true net worth? How leveraged are you to get to that net worth?
That becomes the true financial literacy component that I think that we're going to go to, right? So how did you get into this? How did you get into the financial advisor?
So I think I was destined to be an advisor.
Okay.
So like I was always into personal finance. Like I opened my first retirement account when I was 18.
Damn.
Right. So to the crowd out there, right? It's never too early to start. You always want to start small, start soon. But you know, when I was 18, got my first job at Domino's, started my Roth IRA, was doing like $50 a month, and even continued through college, and then even got my first life insurance when I was 18 as well.
In college,
right?
Damn.
So I was super on top of it, and then I was doing day trading before it was even popular.
Really?
Right? And so lost all the money. Then I was like, learned my lesson. I was like, never doing day trading again.
Right.
Gonna focus really more on long-term investments. And so the way I got started, I pretty much started through an internship program through a major financial services company. And had many great mentors, and that led to me being the #1 advisor intern on the East Coast for about 3 years in a row, top 10 in the country.
Nice. All right.
So since I was 18, man, my first and last professional career, to be honest.
Right. So from 18, so you were in college.
I was in college.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to Howard University in the DC area. Shout out to my HBCU folks, HU, you already know.
All right, so Howard University.
Yep.
Segued into an internship.
Yep.
And that really, but you were doing this before that. So my question is, who in your family was doing something like that you were modeling after, or was it something that just you thought of totally outside the box?
Yeah. So when I think about growing up, my dad always told me, in order for you to be free, you have to do your own thing. And so he always preached entrepreneurship to me. Like he had a taxi cab business, he bought and sold cars, he fixed cars. He also tried real estate. That didn't work out.
Okay.
But when I thought about this financial planning career, you are an entrepreneur, you are a business owner, because at the end of the day, you have to go out there and get your own client. And so I think I was inspired by my father to take the entrepreneurship approach. And then learning from my mom and dad, they had crazy work ethics, right? My mom was up at 4 o'clock every day in the morning. My mom came home at 4 p.m., cooked, clean every single day. My dad went out to work at 6 o'clock in the morning. They didn't come until 7 o'clock.
That usually comes from people who come from another country to come to work because they understand the opportunity.
Exactly, right. So my mom is from Guyana and my dad's from Jamaica, so they pretty much kind of put that in me, and then everything just came together because I also had an interest in personal finance, right? So personal finance, career opportunity, business opportunity, so just made sense for me, and I've been grateful enough to do this stuff at a young age. Right?
What a crossroads. Yeah. So when you started working at Domino's, you're taking whatever, because you couldn't have been making a lot of money.
No, not at all.
Right. But you still had the foresight to be able to say, hey man, I'm gonna aggregate this amount of money every month. Mm-hmm. That's discipline.
Yeah.
That's discipline. I didn't have that discipline when I was that young. No. But I grew up in a whole different type of industry. But Yeah, it's big. That's really big. So then, all right. So we fast forward. Now you're the Vivid Advisory.
Yep.
Right. Where are you guys located out of?
So we're based in Harlem.
Okay.
But we run a national financial planning practice. So I have clients based in Florida, Chicago, California, the DMV area. So as long as you have an internet connection, we can work with you.
Right. And who is your typical client?
So usually I work with physicians, attorneys, and business owners / business leaders.
Okay. Define business leader.
So I'll say someone in corporate America. So it could be someone who's like a managing director, vice president.
Okay.
This could be someone in the C-suite. So that's who a business leader.
So do you have a minimum net worth that you like to work with?
No.
Okay.
No. So the way I think about it is I pretty much am working with Henrys, people who aren't rich yet.
Right.
And so you
high earners, not rich yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So usually there's like an income requirement. So it's like you have to make a certain amount of income. And not to say like if someone comes to me and they don't meet our income threshold, I'm not going to turn them away. I'll probably do a quick intro meeting with them and then introduce them to someone on my team that can probably assist them.
Okay. So when you first started, obviously, when I first started, Latinos weren't looked at as being really big in the finance and real estate field, right? So when I first started, I had to really like farm and be like, and talk to like the auto body owners, the bodega guys. Hey, listen, we can do this, we can do that, and they're like, oh, no te creo. They're talking in Spanish. And I'm like, no, we could do that. Like, and as I, I've been doing this since 04, yeah, been a while. And in the beginning, it was hard to convert.
Yep.
But once you start converting and people will start seeing performance, right? Because your performance is everything, right?
Exactly.
You perform and all of a sudden they're like, oh, yo, you got to call my guy. And that's kind of how it becomes. But in the first couple of years, it's hard because you're out there
tough,
preaching
man.
gospel and nobody's believing.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
that's why you have to have like a huge belief in yourself and your product and your service, right?
Right.
Because if you don't have that, like when I think about sales and helping somebody, you have to be passionate about what you're actually doing. And if you don't have that passion or conviction, you're not gonna be able to transfer the energy to other people. And so even in the beginning, I remember it was like my second month in the business.
Right.
I reached out to my uncle.
Let me ask you this question. Besides your direct family referrals, right?
Yep.
A large company, what do they give you as leads?
They don't really give me leads like that.
They don't give you leads?
In the beginning. In
Right.
the beginning, there was no such thing as leads. They pretty much taught us how to go out there and prospect, how to go out there and get referrals.
What questions to ask?
What questions to ask, like the art of getting referral, like different marketing strategies and whatnot. So they pretty much gave me, it's like the way I look at it, right? Instead of feeding me, they taught me how to go out there and hunt.
Right.
And then I think maybe about 2 years ago, that's when they started to send over some leads. But to be honest, I don't like them because it's not who I ideally want to work with. And so we'll help them, we'll assist them, but ideally it's not, I'm not really a big fan of it. I prefer to get my own leads and my own clients out there because I know I can control it. I did it. And so let's say if the company decides to stop sending leads, or let's say if I decide to go to a different firm and partner with them, I already know how to
take your book with you.
I take the book and also know, have a strategy on how to bring in clients.
Okay. So, all right, going back to what you were saying about your uncle.
Yeah, no. So I think I brought up that point because you talked about in the beginning when it comes to working with our communities. It's not something that's really talked about. And so I remember when I went to go link with my uncle, I brought another advisor with me, and then we went to his kitchen table. I said, Anthony, why are you here? I'm like, well, Uncle, I called you yesterday to schedule this meeting.
Right.
Anthony, you're gonna try to scam me. I'm like, scam? What are you talking about? Here's my business card, here's my license, etc. So I think just coming from a minority background, it can be difficult to start in the beginning, but once you're able to get the conviction, the process, the communication style, I think it's easy to be able to convert those people.
And I feel like when people see some sort of success somewhere, then all of a sudden it's a lot easier, right? Like I remember when I first got into the banking business, not to go into my story, but I was brought into this bank, it was about 200 loan officers, and I'm giving, rough, like let's say out of 200 loan officers, there was maybe, I shit you not, this is in 03, 04, 05, there was 2 Spanish guys, right? Let me get better. It gets better. So I speak Spanish and English, right? I went to NYU, I'm educated, I can speak any vernacular I have to speak, it's all good. But the usual Spanish guys that they have there are the miras, and it's like the token guy. And I walked in, I was like, oh, this shit is on, because I was like, they have no idea, like I can go either way. And once you start closing, then all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, okay. In the beginning, they're like, oh, this guy, he's whatever. And I'm sure that you being young and having a certain amount of success, in the beginning you had to overcome that, being young. So tell me how you overcome that.
Well, one, the beard helps a lot.
Okay. Is that why we grow the beard? Okay.
That's why we grow the beard, right? Because remember, when I started, I was 18, 19, and so I had a chin strap for a little bit. And so I think one, obviously having
chin strap is just a thin beard. He probably couldn't connect.
I cut it.
So that's a chin strap. I want you guys to know.
Got it. Yeah, no, the connection ain't coming through till like after freshman year in college. But But I'd say this, right? I think one, I definitely presented myself in a more mature manner, and so one, spoke really well, used manners. I remember one of my mentors like, Anthony, it's not hey, it's hi. It's hay's for horses, right? So even now, like those small
little
things, right?
Yeah,
those little things, and then on top of it, I was super serious about my brand, and so if you saw me on campus, Anthony was in a suit.
Okay. Even in 18, 19?
Even 18, 19.
Wow, in college.
And so even when I would meet with clients, some of these people would be like 20, 25, 27, 30. They'd be like, oh, you're probably 30. I'm like, no, I'm actually, 21, 22.
Yeah, minus 10.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the biggest thing here, it's really just having the brand, having the look, and also making sure the way I communicated, I come off more mature.
Right.
But obviously, if I'm having fun with friends, I'm definitely on a different type of mode.
But it's by design, right? So what I'm trying to get at with that question is basically, because you have people, I got a call from somebody, I'm not going to say who, on the way up, and they're like, yo, I want to sit with you on Friday. I got this business plan, I got this. And he's family, and I love him. And I was like, yeah, but bro, I was like, it has to be serious. Like, that's not how it works. Give me 6,000, I'll make 10 million. That's not how it works.
Yep.
Let me just be very brutally honest with you. Like, it takes incremental growth. And, I'm trying to explain that. And what I'm trying to get out of you with this conversation is also for people to understand, oh, he's, how old are you now?
27.
All right. So add 21 to that. That's where I'm at, right?
Yeah,
that's where I'm at. So, like, all that shit is by design. It's not a mistake. It's not luck. It's like, yo, I thought about this. How do I present myself? Because what you do is, it's really for serious people, right? Because certain people that they don't, if they're just living check to check, they're not trying to hear you, and I get that. But if they could get themselves out of the rat race or the scarcity mindset of every day, what am I doing? To say, yo, man, $10, $20, whatever, whatever the number is. When I first started making money, that was the hardest part. Like when I got my first financial advisor, he was like, yo, start with whatever, $100 a month or whatever, just start.
Exactly.
And in the beginning, you're like, oh, and then you start, and then you get used to it because like you're not used to seeing it, right? And as a self-employed person, I'm used to seeing everything. So you're like, oh, all right. But now if I'm aggregating stuff, and it just becomes like a habit, right? You have to build a good financial habit. So how do you get somebody who's because I'm sure you meet different people, and I'm sure you meet guys that make a lot of cash money, and they're like, yo, man, I'm not, I want to get whatever I want to get, and how do you convince them? My point is always to tell them, hey man, you have a good 5 to 10 year window of maximum earning potential, right? You kill those 10 years. But remember, it's almost like being in the NBA or NFL. I was like, you got that 5 to 10 year window, you're gonna kill that shit. So how do you stretch that out? And God forbid something happens during that 5 to 10 year window where you're supposed to kill it, and you're not. Like, how do you do that? So.
Yeah, I mean, I actually had a meeting last night, and they did pretty well for themselves. However, they also had the ability to save a lot of money, but they were living paycheck to paycheck, had a ton of debt. And so I was telling them the way we can organize your stuff, I think one is having objectives. So like actually like you need to know why you're saving. Like,
right.
Are we saving for the first home? Are we saving for your children's education? Are we saving to go on vacation? What are we doing it for, right? Because I think we have to know the why, because that's what can motivate you to be like to say no to things, if that makes sense. So I think first is just having the objectives, looking at where you are comparison to where you want to go. What does that gap look like? And so as an example, you'd be like, hey, you want to retire at like 50 years old making $10,000 a month. Okay, well, we did the analysis. Turns out if you want to make that happen today, you got to save at least $5,000 a month.
Right.
And then they look at me and I look at them.
Right.
Is that real? And then it'll be, okay, if you can't do that, well, what can we commit to? What can we actually start with? And so I think it's a matter of just having your objectives, running the analysis, and then figure out how comfortable you feel closing that gap. Now, if someone has spending habit issues, we got to get real granular. I tell my clients, if they have spending issue, let's buy a money journal. Every time you spend money, you have to write it down. You have to be very intentional and also kind of bring it to your awareness, because sometimes people out there swipe.
And blowing Starbucks all day. Like
Starbucks all day. You look back, you spent over $1,000 on coffee. And you just pissed it out. You know what I'm saying? Or even some folks be like, I love to eat out. Well, you just flushed it down the toilet, right? And so once you just let people know the reality of like what they're living in and what they're doing versus what they want to accomplish, you just tell them. They'd be like, wow, yeah, I probably should change. Right. And so many different approaches. Again, not all approaches work for everybody. And so I think when you're working with an advisor, you have to make sure that person understands your personality and knows what work. Are you someone who's led by the carrot, or do you need the stick?
Okay. Okay. And you do that when you have your first meeting with them. You kind of like feeling it out.
Yeah, exactly. So usually the first meeting, it's definitely focused on values, goals, and vision. That's where we focus on.
Okay.
And then we get a good idea of like their relationship with money. Right? Are they good savers, bad savers? Did they learn about money while growing up? Why do they want to learn? Why do they want to learn about money? Why do they want to build wealth? So it's really more of like a why, where you want to go, where you at, and then we figure out, okay, is this a good fit? Is it the right time? And we want to proceed with the next conversation.
I'm trying to think about what my relationship with money is. I don't know. That's a good question. Let me think about that. So I definitely make a lot of money, and I definitely save money. But I'm actively investing. I'm deploying a lot of capital, and my end goal is $100,000 a month in residual rental income.
Nice.
Right now I'm at I don't know, like 15. So
Nice.
I got a while to go. But that's one of them. Another plan I have, and I'm just giving people ideas of the shit they should be doing too, right? Like whatever level you're on. I think the next step, I have to buy another house soon. After that, I'll probably maybe I'll hit you up and get like a life insurance pension almost, like you funded enough.
It's called the LIRP.
Oh, like,
life insurance retirement plan.
Okay.
So it's pretty much a life insurance if you structure it the right way.
Right.
You can use it a part of your retirement income distribution strategy.
Right. So you have to tell the people you fund it.
You fund it.
And for how many years?
Well, it depends.
Right.
You can fund it for 7 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. The way insurance works, if you do it with a quality insurance company, the longer you fund it, the more your money doubles essentially. So it gets to the point maybe like year 10 or 15, you put in $1 into an insurance contract, the insurance company will probably give you back $4.
Okay.
Right? So you want to be able to fund it for as long as possible and also make sure you have the right structure.
Right.
And it also, when I say right structure, right, I've seen a lot of people go on TikTok and talk about this. The way you want to structure a policy, there's two ways to structure them, right? First way is you can pay money to a policy, right? And it could focus on death benefit. So let's say if you have $10,000 in 1 year, you buy a policy, it's $1 million, right? After you pay that policy for 1 year, you only have about, call it $1,000 in the cash portion of the life insurance.
Okay.
Plan, right?
Right.
Another way you can do it is where you can be cash accumulation focused, where you're really more so focused on building money into policy, not necessarily the death benefit. You put in $10,000 year one, you can effectively have maybe $8,000 of cash in a policy.
And only $2,000 being death benefit?
Only $2,000 going towards the cost of insurance.
Oh, okay.
There's so many ways to do it, because sometimes when I see people talk about life insurance, it's like, well, one, what's the structure? Two, is it a stock-owned insurance company or a mutual-owned insurance company? Right? Because there's two types of insurance companies, and to break it down, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're here for.
Exactly. So stock-owned insurance company is an insurance company that's publicly traded. So you can go look it up. I think one company publicly traded, I think is slips my mind right now. I forget, but you can literally look them up, and then you can see their stock symbol.
Okay.
Right. And usually with stock-owned insurance companies, they have a lot of stakeholders, a lot of people they have to satisfy.
Right.
They have to satisfy
pay dividends and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
They have to satisfy Wall Street analysts. They have to satisfy the media. Have to satisfy current shareholders. They have to satisfy policyholders. So they're not necessarily focused on one shareholder, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so whenever they make a profit or whenever they make investment decisions, it's typically short term.
Right. To make a profit, to get net positive.
Exactly. We
Yeah.
need to hit our earnings number. If not, our share price can go down.
Right. Our rating might go down.
Exactly.
Right.
And then the other type of insurance company is called a mutual-owned insurance company, where they're not publicly traded. They're privately owned, and they're owned by the policyholders.
Okay.
And so because these companies aren't publicly traded, they can make long-term investment decisions where it can benefit their policyholder long-term, and they typically tend to pay out more dividends than a stock-owned insurance company.
Okay.
So a lot of nuances around it, because I hear a lot about like IULs, VULs.
Which one is better for which?
What do you mean?
Like a stock-owned company sounds like it's good if you're trying to get some stuff short-term done, but to me, life insurance is a long-term play.
Exactly.
It's not a short-term play.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that would necessarily work with my investing strategy, because
Yeah.
it's for me. I don't care what everybody else thinks, as long as I'm getting what I'm supposed to get.
So it really depends, right? It depends on what you need the life insurance for. It depends on your health and your age, right? That's typically, so usually it's health and age, right? Because some of these mutual carriers, because they have such high ratings, they may not offer you a policy. And if they do offer you a policy, they might charge you 2x more compared to like a stock-owned insurance company.
Really? Okay.
Right. And so it really just depends on what goes on. Sometimes people just have a budget play where, hey, I only want to spend X amount per month.
Right.
And with that amount, maybe if we go to a mutual company, if you're spending $500, you could probably get like $1 million. But let's say if you go to a stock-owned insurance company, spend $500, you probably get like $2 million. right?
Okay.
So it really just depends on what the situation looks like. But again, I prefer, like if I'm doing my own life insurance, I want it to be at a mutual company because I know for a fact they're looking out for my best interest, not necessarily Wall Street analysts or other people that don't own the actual product.
Right. So what I did with my partners, I have a couple of buildings that we own, and they're like 17 and 50 units. I had the partners, each is getting a life insurance policy, being paid by the rent of the building.
Nice.
And the other 3 partners get paid out. So basically it's like, all right, $2 million is mine. God forbid I pass before they do. My family gets a $2 million.
Yep.
They sign over my percentage of the building.
Exactly.
That's how I'm doing it. I'm just telling people because you got a lot of people doing like these things.
Exactly.
And they don't think about what could happen.
Yeah,
right?
and the last thing you want to do is like if you're running if you have 2 other business partners and one of them passes away, now like their partner they now have power to make a decision in the business,
and that might not align with us.
Exactly, but also this person may not even have the experience to make a decision, and so they'll probably might hold the entire process up. So what you did was pretty much set up a buy-sell agreement.
Correct.
And then you pretty much use life insurance to fund a buy-sell.
Correct. Which is the way to do it once you start talking about things that you can't do yourself. Right?
Exactly.
Anything, me personally, at this scale, anything over $2 million is where I bring in partners. Anything under that, I can probably handle my own. But I think it's a really good way because and it's almost like insurance because honestly, I got 3 boys, I got my wife, and I'm like, I don't know if they're gonna be about that, you know, like, and I don't want to encumber them with that because you get a lot of families that they get kind of mad when the kids don't want to do like the family business. But my kids were raised totally different from me, so they didn't face any of the adversity I faced. So maybe it's not important to them. Maybe they're more creative. Maybe they're more abstract. Maybe and I don't want to encumber them with like having like taking like I have a saying I say all the time, which is heavy is the head that wears the crown. I was like, you don't want to just throw that shit on them, and they're like, yo, I've never done shit like this before.
Yep.
And then they get calls from you get aggressives all day. Attorneys get aggressive, accountants get everybody feels like they're better than you once they're a little older than you, and you might identify with this too. When you make a call and they're like, who fuck you? And I'm like, yo, I'm his certified planner. He's like, you sound like you're 12. Right, I don't know if you ever gotten into that? No,
I haven't. I mean, because remember the way I communicate.
Right.
It's like, oh, this guy is really like official tissue.
Right, he knows.
Yeah. They already know.
So, what's the wildest question a client's ever asked you in terms of planning, like for something pretty wild? You don't have to name the client, but everybody has that story.
Let me think about this real quick.
I had a deal one time when the guy says, "Yo, I'm gonna buy the house." I said, "Okay." We got him the loan. He closed on it. He knocked the house down the next day. Insurance goes to check because they do an inspection post.
That's crazy.
I'm like, yo, where's the house? He's like, I knocked that shit down. I'm building 30 units. I was like, oh, boy. So that's like one of the wildest things that ever happened to me. Like,
yeah, I mean, I can't really pinpoint an exact story, but I can tell you I have a lot of people that reach out to me, especially, again, with TikTok. It's been super crazy. Like, I think it's a positive for the community because now people want to learn more about these different products that are out there.
Right.
But I had one client reach out that wanted to do life insurance. It was like, yeah, I want to do life insurance. I want to be able to take money out like year 1, year 2, cash out, but also want to, maximize death benefit, maximize this. And I'm like, hold on, but before we do all of that, let me learn more about your financial situation.
Yeah.
Ton of debt.
He makes $23,000 a year.
I mean,
well, that's I say this other thing.
Yeah,
there's so much information out there right now without understanding.
Exactly.
Right.
The bad thing about it sometimes it's good information, but people think that it applies to them. Right. And it's like, well, listen. I mean, if you were making over $1 million a year, if you had a multi, 7-figure net worth, then okay, cool, we could probably do something. But just so you know, what you heard on the internet is not in your best interest. And obviously, me being a fiduciary, I could sell it to them and have them do it. But it's like I'm not here to make a quick dollar. I'm here to actually help you and making sure if we're going to set something up, you're going to be able to do this stuff for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years and be able to say, you know what, I did something good for myself. And so that's something else too, is like you got to really watch out for the type of advisors that are out there as well. Like you got to watch out for people that are looking to make the quick buck. You got to watch for people just trying to pressure you, make you move forward. And if they're not taking their time to educate you on some of these products out there, you should probably say move on to the next person.
Really? Okay. So what's a telltale sign where you be like, I'm not sure, or if you tell them, look, these next 2 months are gonna be kind of tight. I don't know if I want to step into a big policy like that, and they're like, we should do it anyway. You never know. Are those like telltale signs? Like I tell clients all the time, look, I can get you into the building or the house. This is your monthly. I can make the numbers work that you can get in. Is this sustainable for you? That becomes a question. Is affordability and sustainability? Like, one bad month and all of a sudden you're behind your mortgage. That's not what you want to do. Because
Exactly.
I said you're gonna still want to. I tell everybody you're gonna buy the house. You're gonna want to make it yours. So think about maybe $2,000 to $5,000 a month just in doing shit, just painting and this and that. You probably still want to go out to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Your kids might want to be into sport, like the lifestyle you have now.
Exactly.
Just think about that because I can get you in. I tell them that I can get you in, but do you want to be the guy who can't eat because he has to pay the mortgage or the rent or the heat? Like that becomes. I think the next step in this conversation is financial literacy because I think people they see all the videos and they get the shiny thing syndrome, the shiny object syndrome. They want to grab it, but they don't understand what it's going to take to sustain it.
They would literally fight you tooth and nail to like get that stuff done. I remember I had a meeting yesterday, and mind you, this is like one of the leads that the company sent to me, which is why I'm not really a big fan of it.
Right.
But it was like she was so adamant at getting this one specific product, and I'm like, hey, like. Yes, I can help you get the product 100%, but it's like, well, the reason you should get this stuff is to make sure your family's taken care of.
Right.
Anthony, I just want this. And I'm like, sure, I'll get it to you. And so it's crazy. Once they find a shiny object, they're just so locked on for it. I wonder, it's like a bias that you could probably label that with, but yeah, no, it's crazy.
It's just good marketing.
Yeah, good marketing. Good marketing. And then people who are actually doing actual financial planning have to deal with this stuff.
Right.
And it's crazy.
Sometimes you got to open the hood, be like, "Hey guys, this is what the engine looks like."
Exactly. And some people really appreciate it. Some people are just so stubborn. We're like, "Yeah, I don't want to hear it. Just give me what I want." Like, all right, you're probably not a good fit for me anyway, so I'll probably transfer you over to someone else.
How do you determine whether a client's a good fit or not?
Well, I think one, they have to meet our demographic and who we typically work with. So again, it's business owners. Yeah, so business owners, attorneys, physicians, business leaders. Right. And so if you're in that demographic, cool, I'll work with you. Now, the second step would be you have to be willing to engage in the planning process. So there's one thing to say that you want to do planning. There's another thing to actually do it.
Yeah, break that down.
Yeah, so it'd be like, so as an example, I remember I spoke with this couple maybe about 4 months ago. Okay. Right, and then they want to do it. Kept going back and forth,
Well, before you go forward, what do they want to do? They want to engage you as a financial planner.
Yeah.
All right, Anthony, we're ready to go.
Yep.
And you're like, okay, now what happens?
Yeah, so now what happens is we have a first meeting, and then we typically, it's again, going through like goals, vision, like what do you actually want to do and where you are currently. So it's very simple. It's pretty much asking a bunch of questions so I can truly understand, because the more I understand about someone's situation, the better I can advise them.
You're building like a character, no, there's a term for it which escapes me right now. It'll come to me as soon as you start talking again. You're basically building a profile, right?
Exactly.
Trying to see who he is. Okay.
Well, I call it more like fact finding.
Okay.
More just finding the facts up for this individual.
Well, you're figuring out if they have a high risk of tolerance, if they don't. Like, those are the things you got to kind of see, because then you fit the menu for something they're going to like.
Exactly.
Right. So then, who is usually more, and I know the answer already, but I'm going to ask you anyway, who's usually more of a risk taker, men or women?
That's a great question.
Okay.
That's a really great question. I never really thought about it like that. I would say, from my perspective, it's split down the middle. I'm not going to lie to you. Split down the middle. So it depends. Actually, let me take that back. So if I'm talking to a married couple.
You're talking to a woman.
So women tend to be more conservative.
Of course.
And then men tend to be more aggressive. But then if I'm talking to a single woman, she tends to be more aggressive, if that makes sense.
Well, now we're talking about masculine and feminine energy, which we're not going to go into, but but she's only that way because she has to be, right?
Exactly. And we were actually talking about that earlier. Yeah. Shout out to Darren. We talked about the superior man. Is that that's what it's called, right?
Way of the Superior Man.
Way of the Superior Man. Who's the name of the David Dita. Check that book out if you haven't.
Don't get my podcast shut down, please. All right? It's just feminine, masculine energy. No, but feminine, masculine energy, I believe, is born out of necessity, right? So you have a single woman, and I don't mean a single woman that just came from Puerto Rico and doesn't know the language, because they're going to be super conservative because they're scared for everything. But a woman who kind of grew up here, maybe has an education, she's willing because it's just on her. Exactly. At the end of the day, there's nobody else.
And then one thing that I've learned too is that they, when they do find a partner, right, they don't ever want to come to the situation empty-handed.
Oh, okay.
I do hear that a lot, where it's like, hey, why are you doing financial planning? Hey, Anthony, I know I don't have any kids right now. I'm not married, but I want to make sure, again, if I do have a family, I got something to bring to the table rather than just taking.
That's big.
Yep.
I haven't been in the game for like 22 years. I'm married 22 years. So yeah, that's good to know. Like, things change, right? Positions change, posture changes as times change. Yeah. So that's actually pretty dope. But all right, so now if you have a married couple, what do you usually see?
So what I usually see is, one, I mean, I have a situation that I'm going to be speaking to people today about where there's a difference in spending habits.
Okay.
Right? Where the husband is like, hey, I want to get this stuff done. I want to be able to save for our kids' college. I want to save for the house. The wife is like, oh, no, I'd rather just travel, swipes the card, buys flights for like $1,000, $2,000.
Baller, baby, let's go.
Yeah, so I've seen things like that.
She's a good time.
But I've also seen the other side too, where like the woman's on top of it. The wife is on top of it, but then the man is like, I don't really care. I remember I had one meeting 2 weeks ago. The guy came in and we had the intro call and he was like, I'm just here because my wife told me to be here. I'm here to just appease her. And I'm like, okay, cool. What you got to do. Right. So you can't just box it in one category because people are so different.
Right.
And so those are just some of the trends that I do.
Well, that
see.
guy, for an example, was he the primary breadwinner?
No, he was not.
I knew that already.
Yeah, he wasn't.
But
yeah,
I knew that already. They usually don't have to care.
Yeah.
See, I forgot who I was speaking to. I think it was Trey, actually, when we were like, yo, people don't care if it's not their responsibility.
Exactly.
Right? Like, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal for you because come the first of the month or come whatever. Come the kids want to go to college, come to da-da-da. It's on me. So this is what I think about. It becomes a predominant thought, and that's where you're kind of like cycling in that vibration, right?
Exactly.
So now, have you ever seen like a 50-50? Like a power couple?
Yes,
Okay.
I have.
Okay.
I have. And so usually they do have like a framework on how they make decisions. They have like separate accounts that's dedicated. Hey, this is my spending account. You got your spending account. And so they tend to be much more organized. And they tend to just talk about the financial household a lot more than people that aren't organized or like that they're not on the same page, if that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
I think me being in the real estate field, all this started trying to percolate within me because I would see people come in a mess. Like, we got this house, but nobody here makes enough money. Mom died or whatever, whatever the story is, dad died. And what were we going to do? And I'm like, well, does anybody make enough money to refinance it? Because, it might be in a reverse mortgage. It might, whatever the story is. They'd be like, no. I'm like, well, then I think you have to sell it. I think, I look at their income and I'm like, none of you, unless you're all willing to get on together. And I was like, and then that's going to disqualify you from like getting married and then getting on something else because I explained that it's going to be a liability on your credit, on your income. You got to think that through. And I really am of the belief, and you might contradict me when I say this, but not everybody's meant to be an owner. Yeah. Because some people just don't want that fucking responsibility. And some people are cool just chilling. They don't want too much stress, not too much high, too much low. They just want to chill. And I don't say I get along with those people. I'm not judging them, but I don't have too many friends like that because driven people kind of flock. Like you speak to each other like, oh, what you doing? What you do? Oh, I want to do that too. How would you do that? Like it becomes a positive thing. Unless you're running the wrong people where you have, you say what you're doing. They're like, oh, fuck that guy. I'm like, why would you say that? Well, why wouldn't you be like, yo, how can I get down? Whatever your entrance level is your entrance level where you start.
Exactly.
Just because, I started 10 years ago, maybe you don't start where I start. You start where you start. I was like, but in 10 years, you could be somewhere else too. But there's a lot of, I don't want to say machismo, I want to say there's a lot of ego. There's a lot of ego involved. And I was talking to my homeboy the other day, Ron, and he was like, oh, I've said that. Because I was like, look, forgive me if I sound a certain type of way when I'm about to say this. And they're like, yo, man, you told me. I was like, I know, but I've talked to other friends. They're like, oh, you bugging? I'm like, no, you're bugging. I was like, you're bugging because you don't got nothing to lose. And then we get into that. And I'm like, yo, I don't want to park my car in the street. Well, why not? I was like, because my car like expensive, bro. And I was like, like my wife wants to take the car to like the hood. I'm like, whoa, I'll drive you. Like stuff like that. But as you accumulate shit,
exactly,
you start caring about shit, right?
To be more protective of it.
Yeah.
Because you worked your behind off for that.
Yeah. It's almost like asset protection. You're like, yo, I know what it takes to get here. And again, I'm not shitting on anybody else, but if you didn't earn it, or I tell my kids all the time, your relationship changes when you pay for it. When you pay for something, bro, it's not taken for granted. You're like, yo, I did it. Like it's mine, but you take ownership of it because you're paying for it. And I said, you guys, I have a 28-year-old, I have a 22-year-old and an 18-year-old. I was like, my 28-year-old is starting to come around and understand it. The 22-year-old, he's going on trips with his girl now. He's going to Italy soon. Or he's paying for all that.
Oh, that's nice.
But he understands. He's no, dad's not paying for that trip. That's you guys. It works full time. But when we go away, it's a little different. But I said, yo, dude, when I first went away while I was in college, 17, I went to Daytona. It's 5 guys in a room. It was like, it's what we had. We got into a Honda minivan. We drove. Like, Flights, no.
No. 20-hour drive.
Yeah, we all take a turn. I mean, but that was my reality then. I was like, and this is your reality now. And then now you see another way. I said, but don't take it for granted. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't come like that. You got to work at it. You got to make whatever your path is, you got to make it your path. And if this is the lifestyle you want to get into, I said, then you got to get like a high paying skill. You got to figure out something that pays well and can support that. I was like, you can't have minimum work ethic and expect to have this lavish life.
Exactly.
And that's the message. And I have 3 boys. My message, I always kind of tell them, him and his boys, because they all got friends. And I feel like sometimes I'm talking to the world to them, but then their boys come to me for more advice than they do.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, what would you do? I'm like, yo, I would do this, I would do that. And they'll go back and do it and have some success. And then my son's like,
that's awesome.
How do you know I do that? I was like, because I told him, Dick. I tell you all the time. And he's like, oh, it's just you, Dad.
It's because they see you every single day versus the other dudes.
They take for granted.
Exactly.
They take it for granted. And again, man, when I say when you pay for it, it changes your relationship with everything. And even today, I got a call from one of my nephews. He's asking me questions. And I'm like, yo, I hear you. I hear what you're doing. I see what you're doing. And it's going to take time, but you got to stick to it. You know, I don't know if it was a loan call or whatever, but we'll see. I'll meet with him and talk to him about it. But I think it's so much deeper. Like, you're dealing with a certain demographic, but I want to talk to the up and comers also that can eventually be in that demographic. They have to understand it's by design. It's not by mistake. You know what I'm saying? Like the things that you develop at 18 years old, unheard of, especially where I came from, unheard of. But that's gotten you where you're at now, right? So they have to develop habits that will enable them to maybe, I don't want to say suffer, but rather just develop habits that maybe you're not balling out. But later on, you could be like, oh, I could ball. I mean, I'm a big believer in like kind of a mixture. Like everything is solved by making more. To me, I don't believe, and don't fight me. I don't believe in saving more. I believe in making more. Like,
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
I'd be like, I think it's easier for me to make 100 G's than it is for me to save 100 G's. Because I believe when you start saying, oh, I got to save 100,000, all right, where can I cut back? It just affects your thinking and everything. Like, instead of doing that marketing thing, whatever that you're cutting. You
said cut back too, so you kind of get in that scarcity mentality. You got to be more abundant. Okay, right. Cool. How can I make an extra?
Yeah. I want to put 100,000 in my account. How do I make it?
Yep.
What can I do? What kind of deal can I work that can make it happen? And to me, I believe in the chemicals in your brain, vibration. I believe in all that. That starts clicking, and 2 months later, you did it. You know what I'm saying? If you really believe in it, right? Because you can only fake it so much. You can't if you don't really believe it and believe in yourself. It won't happen. But I believe you start saying, oh, I got to save, I got to cut, I got this, I got that. I kind of start seeing like, you're just kind of like boxing yourself in. You're stopping. And whereas, look, I've put 10,000 online to make 50. It's not gambling. It's just the client didn't have it, had to do it. I made it happen and it worked, right? It could have gone the other way, and it has gone the other way a couple of times. But that's my sword to dive on. It is what it is. Like, I didn't borrow the money. It was my money. I put it up. I made it.
Exactly. You also, I'm assuming you're probably investing in your business.
Of course.
You understand how it works. You understand the risk behind it. So it's more of a calculated risk.
Right.
For you to make that happen.
Yeah, and all success comes from calculated risk, I believe. Like you can only be wrong so many times. You can only be right so many times, right? But you make sure you're right more than you're wrong.
Exactly. And also, whenever you lose, it's actually a lesson. Just don't try to repeat the lesson again.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely. No, I've learned the lesson, right? Exactly. Like, don't go that way again. But listen, I've lost. I remember one deal in 04, 05. I was young in the game, and I got these deals, and I made a mistake. I lost 100,000. I can at 204. We're in 2023. I talked to you about it like yesterday.
Yeah.
I'll never make that mistake again.
And the cool thing is you how much you lost, you said?
100.
So you learned a $100,000 lesson rather than learn a multi-million-dollar lesson.
Absolutely.
I'm pretty sure if you didn't learn it back then, let's say you try to do a deal for like $1 million.
I wouldn't be prepared to deal with the numbers I deal with now.
Exactly.
Yes. Using that as an example, yeah. If it's a lesson learned, right, and well applied, then I believe everything that happens to you. And I spoke to this other kid on the podcast, and he was like, yo, what would you do different? I was like, nothing. I was like, because every mistake I've made has led me to this point. And right now, I'm doing all right. I'm happy. I'm not where
you're on the way to $100,000 a month.
Yeah, easy. Residual income.
Yeah, you got
residual income.
Yeah, you need at least 85. You have like 85,000 more left.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
If you find some deals, let me know.
All we do is find deals, bro. But that's really where it is. Like, also that number, it might sound crazy, but I know guys that are doing $1 million a month. Like, and I'm not
crazy.
I'm not hating.
Yeah.
I'm like,
it's an inspiration.
Yeah,
it's motivation.
I sit next to them. I'm like, yo, so how'd you do it? And and those guys always willing to talk. If they're talking about something they love, blah blah blah, they'll talk. Like if you ever walk up to a fighter and be like, yo, how'd you throw that jab? Boom, they're like, you want to know about that? Like, that's their shit, right? Or how do you perfect your 3-point shot? Oh, you want to? This is what I do. This is what, like, because it's what they love,
exactly.
Right? So when you talk to me, business is a sport. So you talk to a guy, yo, how'd you do that? Well, very simple. And then they go into it and they'll all for free. They're not,
So you ever come across someone where they doing these crazy numbers and they said, nah, I don't want to talk about it?
Listen, I've been around a lot of successful people, luckily, and I believe, like you said, destined for it. I was destined. I've worked in buildings where the chairman of Express worked. Really cool guy. I've sat with guys who sold these guys have been with me, sold their companies for $500 million. A guy, last podcast, sold his $50 million, and they always want to talk about it. They always want to put you on because I believe once you have, you don't live in fear.
Yeah,
you don't live in fear. There's not like, oh, you're going to take mine. I got $500 million. What's up? You want to know about this? Let's go. Like, because I want you to get on too. I was talking to my friends over the weekend in Puerto Rico. I was like, yo, it's only good when the whole crew's doing well. Because then it's just a different feeling when it's like, yo, O's going to pay for this. Because everybody at the end of the day is their own man, right? They want to feel like they're contributing, right?
Yep.
Like you're saying, women come, they're like, I want to come contribute. So my job is to make sure we're all winning in some sort of way. So when we're hanging out, it's all love, man. It's all love. I really believe in that, but I can say that because I have a small level of success.
Yep.
Right. Some people might be a big one. To me, it's very small because my picture is so much bigger. But I'm happy, and I got it the right way. And these conversations are for people. I'm not sitting here saying, "Hey, I want to inspire you," but I want you to know, yo, it's fucking possible, bro. We're here sitting, top producer here across from me in his field. I do what I do, which I really don't know what I do anymore. But we make money.
You dropped to Brooklyn.
Drive to Brooklyn, right? Not really FedEx, but like that's what these conversations have to be about, because I believe if you can't see it, you can't be it. And I don't think there's people talking about this type of shit unless they're like super glamorizing it, or like, I don't know if you heard about your man Grant Cardone. I said your man.
Oh, man.
Right?
No more.
I talk to black people in street talks.
Oh, man.
And concepts they can understand. Yo, bro, fuck you, bro. Don't talk to me. I'll come see you. I've always thought he was a racist, but he just blasted him. He was like in the Wall Street Journal or something, or he was like talking to Bloomberg or some shit like that.
Yeah, and I even think there was something, he was on a podcast with Patrick Bet-David talking about he could use the N-word and all of that. And I'm just like, bro.
No, you can't. Bro.
What's going on?
Yeah, you're insulated, bro. You're insulated. But yo, man, it's just eventually you see people who they are. And
exactly.
To me, he has those cold, like shallow salesman eyes.
Yep.
I think I spoke Darren. I talked to JC. I told him all that. I don't fuck that guy. I could see it. Like, I've been on the streets. I could see all that. I see, like, there's that energy. I'm like, nah, this guy ain't real. And now he's, now all the black people like, oh, I can't believe that shit. I'm like, you couldn't see through that, bro. Like, and I feel bad because, whatever people he I don't know if you know anything about him. I did a little bit of research where he lowered the entrance to invest in his fund to a certain amount to get more people in. At $250 or $2,500, what return are you gonna see, bro?
Yeah. Right?
So what's the point? Why are you taking people's money?
Just at the number, just for him to make his fee, his money.
There you go. His syndication fee is. We could talk about that too. Like, people don't know all the fees that are on the back end that he's making.
So I got a question for you, right?
Sure.
So I mean, right now we're dealing with high interest rates right now. So in regards to the just mortgages in general. So like, how is that?
Well, let me correct you on this one. In 04 or 05 when I started, rates were 9, 10, 11. So
you're
to
right.
me,
this is normal.
This is a cycle.
This is a cycle. Yeah.
This is a cycle, and I'll add to this. When we went through the pandemic, the government didn't know what the fuck to do. There was a thing and I'll give you this. And when 9/11 happened, it was going real deep, and President Bush was in the president and stuff like that. After he came off, he gave a speech. I want to talk about where it was a closed door session with no cameras, and he told us, we were there. I was there.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, he was like, we didn't know what the fuck was happening. He was like, they blew into the fucking tower like this. I had no idea what what we're doing.
Sure, they don't know what was happening.
But that's what he says. Like, how do I deal with that?
Yeah.
Right? How do I? He's like, I don't know. I'm sure if Obama has a closed door set, I'd like to be there too. Because after he came in, when Clinton had the meltdown, you know what the fuck he was doing? He was just giving away shit. Fast forward to the pandemic, they had to artificially create an economy to give people the ability to do shit because jobs are being lost, this was being lost. They had to artificially stimulate the economy. So to keep it below, I saw rates as low as 1.99, bro.
It's crazy.
On a 30-year fixed. I borrowed $1 million at 2.5.
Wow.
Come on, bro. Like, so now we're at 6.
Yeah.
To me, that's par for the course. I believe that's equalizing because what happened was at 1.99, you were giving a whole economy of people who could not afford the ability to afford.
Yeah.
Going back to affordability versus sustainability. I believe those people are not going to be able to succeed because they bought houses at 400, 500,000, but you got the heat, you got the water, you got the this.
And property taxes.
Going back to financial literacy, they didn't know, but they just wanted out. They just wanted out. And realtors are not going to tell you all that. They go, oh, yeah, we sold the house, Because, you know, no offense, I'm a realtor too, so don't get mad. They want to make the commission. And I get all that, but there has to be a little bit of accountability. You got to tell people, look, man, this is what your payment's going to be, but, you know, boilers break down, this breaks down, that breaks, just FYI. Now, you have the guys that, you know, they rent out the basement apartment, they make a little extra money, okay. Or you got guys that are working off the books too, okay. If that's the case and they have other incomes that we're not disclosing, bet, you're good. But that single mother that has 2 kids, and I couldn't do that, man. I couldn't do that to them, but has it been done? Absolutely.
Of course.
So going back to your question,
yeah.
Interest rates are kind of 5.6s right now.
Okay.
I think it's pretty stable. I think it had to calm things down for a minute.
All right.
The one thing is we won't see a lot of upside down houses because what was happening in the 1.9 to 2.5, people will come in cash over closing. What that means is I'll give you 400. Oh, the house will only appraised for 300. I'll put $100,000 cash. Where the people are getting money? Stimmy checks. But I'm not going to say that. I don't know where the money came from.
$100,000 stimmy check, that's crazy.
Bro.
Or it was probably the PPP or something
EIDL.
like that.
That's what I'm going to say. All right? There's a lot of money that's coming out, man. Come on, there's money from everywhere. People are just throwing money. Who has $100,000 extra thrown down on top of the house? But that's what happened. So that's where we're at. So now things are more stable. There's still this whole other economy. I've been looking at houses. I've been getting outbid. You know, guys coming in cash.
Oh wow, still
$2 million. Like I'm like, nah. They were like, can you waive your mortgage contingency? I was like, absolutely not. I was like, if I can't get a mortgage, I can't bring you 2 point whatever. I can't do it. So, so there's a whole.
So it hasn't really slowed down for you, has it? In regards to the mortgage side, okay. Never.
People always need money. That's why I got in the game. They always need money.
I like that.
And people don't
like
know.
that.
And people don't know. Like they look for a money man that can help them. Like I went to pick up the shirts today. He was like, "Look, I got 50,000. I want to buy my house. I got you." He goes, "Don't tell me you could get me." I was like, "Yo, bro, trust O. I got you. All right, just send me a tax return."
Trust O. You should get a shirt like that. Trust O.
You know, we trust. And I told him, "Send me the thing." He goes, "All right, fine." So he was all excited again. But if you don't do it in your W-2s, there's bank statement programs. If you don't do it, bank statements, you have enough of down payment, there's no income program. There's all those programs are opening up again.
Yeah. So my question is, with some of those programs, do they come with higher mortgage rates?
The less they verify, the higher the rate.
The less because it's higher the risk.
There you go.
That makes sense.
Underwriting. That's all it is. And the difference is maybe 100, 200 basis points, not 15%.
Okay.
It's like 6, it'll be maybe 7, 8. I closed a loan at 3.4 million, no income at 8.4%.
No income.
No income. Rental income of the property.
Rental
the
income. Got it.
Yeah, rate and term. Got them 8% on that type of money.
Yeah.
With no income. Yeah, that's
a lot of money.
But that's all day.
Yeah.
That's all day. Remember, if you can't verify, it don't mean you don't make it. It just means you can't verify it. So if I know the profile of my client and I know he got it, I'm like, all right, so this is what it's gonna be. I was like, if you want to go lower interest rate, even though the interest rate will be 200 basis point higher, lower, which would be like 6%, which not that big of a difference, then you got to pay taxes on this amount of money. You make your decision.
Got it.
And I must tell my clients, like, dealer's choice. You want this or you want this? I can make them both happen.
Yeah.
This is what we got to do for this one. This is what we got to do for that one. Like I said, it goes back to financial literacy. You got to have guys that know what they're doing.
Exactly.
And that guy as a coach will get you farther than you'll ever get by yourself.
Exactly. And I also think, too, you got to look for people that are going to give you the options.
Yeah.
Give you the options and also meet you where you're at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. And listen, I've referred clients to other people. Like at certain points, Wells Fargo's not doing it anymore, but Chase or Citi had these like grant programs and stuff like that. Like, look, explore the grant program. It's free money. Go get it. If you can get it, you can qualify with me, but you got to put this amount down. If they give you for free, take it. Take it. Like I'm cool with that. Just do. It's for you to win. You know, see me if you want to refi. See me later.
Yep.
But again, it goes back to having a little bit of success where you're not like steering people just for your own best benefit. Because at the end of the day, it comes back to you. You know, I know you believe that also, but it all comes back to you because people talk. It's a long life we lead. I know it's short in the whole universe scheme of things, but in terms of business, your name. When you're not in the room, you want people to say anything. Right.
Means a lot. And so even sometimes clients are like, Anthony, how do I know that this is right for me? I'm like, listen, I've been doing this for close to 10 years. If I'm giving you advice, if I'm talking to myself, I'm also talking to my mother. And so if I give you this advice, I want to make sure that if we go in a court of law, I did the right thing. And so, so I think the biggest thing again is like you got to find those advisors that you can really trust. And when I think about, just to kind of add this too, especially if you're in the business of building wealth and want to create something for your family, you got to have multiple advisors, right? So I think it's important to have a real estate advisor, mortgage advisor, financial advisor, legal advisor, because they have to talk. Also, an accountant too. Make sure you have that person. Your team needs to talk to each other, because another thing that I see, especially with folks that are kind of up and coming, doing their thing and making high income, they got a lot of good stuff. They got the insurance, they got the investments, they got the stock, they got the real estate. But every time I ask, hey, do your advisors know each other? Like, no, they don't. And I'm like, that's interesting.
Right.
Because your stock advisor, your insurance person, or your accountant may be giving you advice that's counterintuitive and can even like cost you more money down the line. So
not for the big picture of it, right?
So you always got to have someone that you got to have a big picture person,
right? And
it can't just be you.
Right.
Or if anything, just make sure your advisors are talking to each other to make sure that they're on the same page. I see it all the time, because if they don't have this, right, they end up paying a lot more in taxes, a lot more in fees, right, which eat away at their net worth, right, which then now they're forced to work longer or live off less.
Right. And it delays the end goal.
Exactly.
Right? At the end of the day, just delaying their end goal. Right. So you do life insurance as well as stocks?
Yeah,
so you do both.
So if you think about the product suite, it'd be like life insurance, disability insurance, long-term care, health insurance. When it comes to investment, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs. With business owners, we set up 401k, SEP IRAs, simple IRAs. Like you name it, we can actually get it done.
Okay.
So again, comprehensive. So let's say someone's like, hey, I don't need to purchase any products. Cool. We run a fee-based practice as well, so we could just charge you a fee to pretty much put everything together for you and ensure that all your advisors are talking together. So just again, we like to meet people where they're at.
Like quarterbacking.
Exactly. Some folks don't even need products. And so if you don't need products, cool. Here's the plan. Here's what you got to do. And so we can come in and be the architect.
Right.
We build the blueprint. We can also be the contractor. We actually execute on the blueprint, if that makes sense. So
no, it makes perfect sense. Yeah,
depending on who where we're catching them at, their net worth. Because if they already have relationships, we're not in the business of replacing your people. So if you like them, you trust them, cool. Let's all work together.
Okay. So if people want to get in contact with you, please talk to the screen.
Yeah,
let
cool.
them know.
So follow me. I'm pretty active on IG, so visionary.ant. And if you're on LinkedIn, look me up, Anthony Williams, Wealth Advisor. You'll find me as well. So LinkedIn, Instagram, check me out, and hope to connect soon.
What about TikTok?
Not there yet.
Right,
I know it's a missed opportunity, but I'm focused on mastering a few platforms before I get on there.
TikTok is a fucking mess, man. You go in there, but the funny thing about TikTok, I know I was trying to end the show and shit, but let me just give it 2 seconds. The funniest shit about TikTok is the people that watch it.
Yeah.
Like my 65-year-old cousin was like, "Yo, I was watching you on TikTok, bro. You be knowing your shit." I'm like, fuck you doing on TikTok?
Bro, my uncle, he's my Jamaican uncle that probably, I think he just got a smartphone. He had a flip phone for years, and he's like, yeah, I watch TikTok. I'm like, watching TikTok? What do you? He's like, Anthony, I wake up, I watch TikTok from 12 to 3, take a break.
3 hours.
Then I go back 3 to 6. I'm like, Uncle, like, what's on TikTok? He's like, there's a bunch of stuff, man. There's music, there's videos, there's tutorials. I'm like, interesting.
The one thing about it I see, I don't go on it too much, but I see that it's continuous.
Bruh.
It's like you don't have to do anything. You're like,
bruh, it's mind numbing. Like I honestly I'm not on TikTok like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I sometimes I see my girl when she was on it, she'll be there for like 3, 4. I'm like, what are you
doing?
Like it sucks you. I feel like it's designed to make you addicted to this platform. So that's why
China. We see you, China. I know what you're doing right now.
Well, listen, we'll blame the big tech companies that want you to be on your phone, right? Because like with my social media, I put a timer, right? So literally
you do?
I have a timer. So on Instagram, I have like a 30-minute timer per day.
Okay.
And then because I sometimes catch myself in it, and then it'll be like, you got 5 minutes left. Okay, cool. Thank you, God. Put it away.
Thank you, God.
Not on it. Because that stuff is addictive,
Anthony,
man.
you're super disciplined, bro.
So you have to be, listen, if you're trying to build something great, you have to be super disciplined. So I social media, set that to the side, and then, so I can stay focused. So we can, we can talk more about this stuff so we can be able to, provide people more value.
Yeah. I do social media early in the morning before I start, and maybe in the midday, and that's it. Because at night, I don't want to do it. Because I'm burnt. Like, I'm in front of computer screens, or I'm talking to people.
A lot of a lot of energy
done, bro. I'm like, I don't got time for this shit. And then I'll get text, yo, you saw my DM? I'm like, no, tomorrow. Like, it's never that important that, like, I tell people I'm not a doctor, I'm not saving lives. I was like, if it didn't work today, it'll work tomorrow.
Exactly.
If I don't go to Brooklyn today, I'll go tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. Anyway, let me wrap up. It's 12:58. I know you have to go.
Cool.
All right?
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And hopefully, maybe we'll do a financial literacy series.
We'll do.
We can do something like that.
I think it'd be nice to come, because I truly believe in order to build wealth, right? It's not just real estate. It's not just business. It's not just stocks. It's not just insurance. It's all of it.
Yeah.
And so, like, how do we put all together to make sure you have a well-balanced plan so you can take advantage of what's out there, but also ensure all the stuff you're building, you can pass it on to the next generation.
Yeah. That's why I was talking about the life insurance policy with the building, and I think that you got to find out what your explosive money is.
Exactly.
And then you take that explosive mone and you invest into your residual money.
Exactly.
Because your explosive money, like I said, I feel like you have a 5, 10, if you're really, really good, 15 years.
Yep. And I like what you said about explosive money. So the framework I have for it, right, you got 3 segments to building wealth. You got your home run money. The home run money for you could be your real estate portfolio. If you put in 5, you can make 10, 20.
Right.
Then you have your aggressive money, which is typically like money in equities. It goes up and down, and down. Then you have your safe money. So there's 3 segments: home run, aggressive, and safe. And try to understand, what is your home run money? I see it usually being real estate, businesses, company stock, aggressive stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and safe money can be like a life insurance policy, a savings account, or even like a checking account. Yeah, I'm definitely going to hit you up. We're going to do a financial plan with him to see if I'm on the right path and see if I can tweak anything, because I believe in using people that are like, that's your specialty. Yep.
My specialty is business. So I know how to make it. And in my, as I learn, I try to apply it and deploy it and stuff like that. But it's good to have a guy that just, maybe you do less here and there, and like you said, architect it.
Exactly, and also be a soundboard too.
Yeah.
Because you can't really be your own therapist.
Yeah.
And you want to be able to make sure, again, you have everything all in the same place, so you really know how to make decisions.
There it is. So he just got a client, guys. See that? Just like that. That's it. We all win, baby. We all win. Thank you for tuning in. See you soon.